Hello and welcome. My name is Professor Jordan and I'm a histrionic historiophile, and this is the preface of Whys of History Episode 5, Current Event Edition. Sam, cue the awesome current event bumper. Instead of hitting another awesome historical topic this week, I wanted to hit a why question that has more to do with a current event than a grand historical event. So Russia's invasion of Crimea / troubles with Ukraine has been a big deal recently, and I wanted to discuss some of the history of these events that might explain why they all took place. Here to give you a rundown of the event thus far, we turn to our historispondent Sam, who is rifling through my stuff.
Thanks, Jordan. I'm looking forward to this new segment, as I enjoy having more than 2 minutes every episode. And I've got a very snazzy pompadour and the voice of an angel, and the world needs to hear it. So, what's this all about? The event that sparked this whole invasion was talks between Ukraine and the European Union that would have brought closer ties between Ukraine and Western Europe, weakening Ukraine's fairly long-standing ties with Russia. At the last minute, Ukraine's generally pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych canceled the talks, breaking a campaign promise and sparking outrage with many of the Ukrainians who supported the venture. This led to widespread protests in Maidan Square, in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev, giving the protesters the moniker of Euromaidan. While the protests were mostly peaceful, President Yanukovych soon cracked down on those free speech and assembly laws, leading to violent outbursts in Kiev on both sides. The Yanukovych regime was overthrown with a vote of no confidence from the Ukrainian parliament in February of 2014. Fearing that a new government would be hostile to Russia and its interest in Ukraine, Russia invaded Crimea, a small chunk of Ukraine that juts out into the Black Sea. The occupation was welcomed by many in Crimea, and on March 16, 2014, the people of Crimea voted to join Russia, making it an official part of the Russian Federation. The issue created a divide between the EU and Russia, with many neighboring countries wondering if closer ties with the West could mean threats or even invasion. Russia has faced considerable economic backlash from not only the US but the EU. Much of the global goodwill it gained from the Winter Olympics has been lost, and Russia is now facing accusations that it used threats and force to carry out the March elections in Crimea. Following the annexation of Crimea, pro-Russian separatists and revolutionaries have popped up throughout eastern Ukraine, taking over buildings and furthering the unrest that has plagued Ukraine since February. Russia's hand in the uprisings is unclear, as many have accused it of using covert actions, propaganda, and Russian partisans to further the unrest and prevent a radically anti-Russian government from forming in its own backyard. I know I'd hate to have a radically anti-Sam government in my backyard, though since there's no Sam government to begin with, nor do I have a backyard, I think I'll be okay. Back to you, Jordan.
Thanks, Sam. Boy, I am glad that you don't have a system of government. It would be like cheap pomade and overstuffed Mexican cuisine everywhere. Also, get out of my house! So part one of this typical two-parter will focus on why Russia invaded / annexed Crimea, an event which took place in March of 2014 and marked one of the few let's just straight up annex this territory like we're playing Civilization moments in the 21st century. The second part will seek to look at why there is so much tension between Russia and Ukraine and within Ukraine itself. One final thing before we get started, it's worth noting that looking at a current event from a historical standpoint is extremely tricky and requires a level of finesse and historical savvy that I probably don't have. When looking at current events, it can be hard to find the objective, and there's innumerable pieces of evidence and revelations that no one really has access to right now and may not for years or even decades. So keep that in mind as we go forward. You can click on these randomly relevant pictures over here to access part 1 and 2 of Whys of History number 5. Why did Russia invade / annex Crimea? Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next class. Hello and welcome. My name is Professor Jordan and I am a histrionic, right?
Histrionic, yeah.
Histrionic. Hello and welcome. My name is Professor Jordan. Oh, and I'm a histrionic historiophile. Okay, I can remember that. All right. Hello and welcome. My name is Professor Jordan, and I'm a histrionic. Yeah. Histrionic historiophile. Histrionic historiophile. That is actually kind of hard to say.